My brother disappeared 10 years ago, and one day I saw him on the street. I was only 14 the day my brother, Daniel, disappeared. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in late spring. The kind of day where the scent of freshly cut grass mixed with the sound of kids laughing in the distance. I remember because we had just finished lunch, and Daniel had promised to take me to the park to teach me how to ride his old skateboard. He left the house to grab something from the corner store, a bottle of soda, he said, and that was the last time I saw him. At first, my mom thought he was just hanging out with friends and had lost track of time. But as hours passed and night fell, her worry turned into panic. By the time midnight came, the police were already in our living room, asking questions I didn't know how to answer. The days that followed were a blur. Search parties combed through the neighborhood, flyers with Daniel's face were taped to every light pole, and our phone rang constantly with false leads. My mother aged years in a matter of weeks, her eyes losing the spark they once had. Eventually, the calls stopped, the flyers faded, and the world moved on, but we didn't. Every time I walked down the street, I searched every face in the crowd, hoping for a miracle. And then, 10 years later, that miracle came, though not in the way I expected. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon. I was on my way back from work, umbrella barely holding against the wind, when I saw him. Standing across the street, soaked under the downpour, was a man with familiar brown eyes, eyes I had seen every night in my dreams. My heart stopped. It was Daniel. But there was something different, something in his face, his posture, and the way he looked at me like I was a stranger. Couldn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face again, those same sharp cheekbones, that little scar near his left eyebrow, just like Daniel's. But my rational mind fought back, it can't be him. He's been gone for 10 years. People don't just reappear after a decade as if nothing happened. The next morning, I returned to the street where I had seen him. I walked slowly, scanning every corner, every passerby. And then, there he was. Standing in front of a small convenience store, wearing a worn-out jacket and holding a paper bag. Daniel? My voice cracked as I stepped closer. He froze, turning toward me. His eyes, those deep, familiar hazel eyes, locked on mine. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. But his expression was strange. Confused. Guarded. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" he said quietly. The world seemed to tilt under my feet. "Daniel, it's me, Emily. Your sister. You disappeared when you were 18. Where have you been?" But he shook his head. "You must be mistaken." And before I could reach him, he turned and walked away, fast. I wanted to chase him, to demand answers, but something in his face, a flicker of fear, made me stop. If that was my brother, why was he pretending not to know me? That night, I made a decision, I was going to find out the truth. Even if it meant uncovering something I wasn't ready to hear. For days after our encounter, my mind was a storm of questions. Every night, I replayed the scene in my head, his eyes, his hesitation, the way he clutched his worn-out jacket like it was protecting more than just his body. I began searching the streets where I had seen him, walking up and down blocks, asking strangers if they had noticed a man with his description. Most people shook their heads, but one old shopkeeper nodded slowly. "Yes. I've seen him," the man said, squinting at me. "He doesn't talk much. Lives in the back alley near the old train station. But be careful, he's not the same as he once was." His words made my chest tighten. Not the same. What had happened to him in those lost years? That night, I went to the train station. The place was cold and dimly lit, the smell of rust and dampness hanging in the air. In a corner, I spotted a faint silhouette. It was him. "Daniel," I called softly. He froze, but didn't turn. My steps echoed as I walked closer, my voice trembling. "It's me, your sister." Finally, he turned his head, his face half hidden in shadows. You shouldn't be here, he said in a low voice. It's not safe. Safe from what? I've been looking for you for 10 years. I pleaded. He shook his head, his eyes filled with something I couldn't read, fear, maybe guilt. If you knew why I left, you'd wish you never found me. And then, before I could respond, he stepped back into the darkness, disappearing between the station's pillars. I was left standing there, my heart pounding, realizing that finding him might only be the beginning of something far more dangerous than I had imagined. Daniel took a deep breath, his eyes glistening. Liam, when I disappeared, it wasn't because I wanted to leave. I was taken. My heart nearly stopped. Taken? By who? He glanced around nervously, as if the very shadows could overhear us. By someone we both knew. Mom's old boss, Richard Hale. The name made my skin crawl. Richard Hale had always been a cold, calculating man who seemed too interested in our family's struggles. Why would he take you? I asked, my voice trembling. Daniel's jaw tightened. He owed Mom a large sum of money, and instead of paying her, he threatened her. Said he would destroy her life if she didn't agree to his terms. I was his collateral. I shook my head in disbelief. Mom let this happen. She didn't have a choice, Daniel said softly. She thought she was protecting you, but she underestimated how far he would go. The anger inside me burned, but so did an ache for all the years my brother had suffered alone. He told me how he'd been forced to work under a false identity, constantly moved from place to place so no one could find him. Then how did you end up here? I asked. Daniel's lips curved into a faint smile. I escaped. Took me years to plan it, but I finally ran. I've been trying to find you ever since. Tears blurred my vision. I reached out and pulled him into the tightest embrace I'd ever given. You're home now, I whispered. And no one will ever take you away again. But deep inside, I knew Richard Hale wasn't the type of man to let someone just walk away. Our reunion was only the beginning, and danger still lurked in the shadows.